This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 41. If there's one thing that hurts entrepreneurs more than anything else, it is comfort. We're going to be talking about how to break out of your comfort zone, 7 things you can do to expand who you are and the results that you're getting. That's coming up on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money. Work less and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
We're going to play a game today.
Ooh.
Not that kind of game.
Where was your mind? That wasn't where I was. All right, game.
This one's called What's on Your Desk?
What's on my desk? All right.
What's on your desk?
Is that the game?
Yeah, I ask you and you tell me.
Keyboard.
Is that it?
Keyboard is on the desk.
All right.
What's on your desk?
A lot. I got a deck of tarot cards up here. Mm-hmm. I got an iPad. I've got my wallet. I've got a phone. I've got tons of little Post-it notes. I've got a check that I haven't cashed yet. I've got a copy of Maxim magazine.
That's a lot of stuff.
Funny story about Maxim. People always ask me, why do I have Maxim? Because I'm 41 years old. Surely you're too old for Maxim. But I read all sorts of magazines. We get, or I should say I get, Cosmopolitan, Cosmo.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneur. We get Success. I used to get the National Enquirer at one time. Self. A lot of female magazines when I was marketing directly to a female market. Helps me keep in touch with my feminine side.
Well, we do take the quizzes in Cosmo, and we get a big kick out of them.
Do we? I don't remember ever doing that.
We do. I'll sit on the couch, and I'll ask you the questions on there, and I change the wording so that it makes sense for men.
I don't even know that I'm taking these quizzes.
Yes. No, I changed it. They're made for women, so they have like the he and she's that make sense for women. So I just switch them out for you and ask you the questions, and we get a big kick out of them. Maybe you don't know that you're doing them, but we laugh.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I don't remember that. I'm going to have to watch. You're very, very sneaky.
I know. Fair enough. That's the only way that I enjoy Cosmo is the quizzes.
Well, this episode, it's about how to get out of your comfort zone. And I would say being a guy that checks out with a Cosmo magazine, that could be a way to get out of your comfort zone. You might get some strange looks. I used to get strange looks when electricians or people working on my house would come and they would see all these female magazines on my countertop or wherever they were.
They might have thought you were the man, though.
Well, they'd say, so you married? Nope.
Nope. Just reading some Cosmo.
Well, here's where it got really weird. My project manager used to come down to Nashville all the time. She one time stayed for about 6 weeks, and she's ordering all sorts of clothing, female clothing, and that was sent to my mail drop. Ever since then, I am on a list of plus-size female clothing.
It's your secret life.
Yeah, and I don't get much of the mail drop. I just get packages, but every time I go in there, I've got 2 or 3 catalogs of female clothing addressed to me. Comes off a little weird. They wonder what's in the packages, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a little odd. Well, we'll take your word for it, David, that nothing weird's going on.
No, there's nothing weird about a guy getting women's magazines and female clothing catalogs, especially when you're marketing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really what this podcast is about. RED stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. It is for bloggers, podcasters, authors, writers, musicians, anybody with a message. If you want to spread your message, get more people to your events, make money while spreading your message, this is the podcast for you. Welcome.
And also it's for people that want to be that guy, to be that person, because you have to be the best, most amazing version of yourself to spread your message in the way that you want to spread it. So how do you develop yourself as a person to do that? How do you get out there and be that person that you see other people on stage being that person? You want to be that person. We talk about a lot of those elements as well.
That's what we talk about on this and every episode. We are available at redpodcast.com. You can subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher. And today we're talking about how to break out of your comfort zone. That's a huge problem for entrepreneurs, and probably that's the thing, not only just entrepreneurs, but it's the thing that holds more people back than anything else.
And I was saying this on an interview that I did yesterday, is comfort is killer. I always say that. Comfort is killer because I work with a lot of people that are trying to escape their day job and work for themselves full time. That's when I really see people getting in the comfort zone and staying there and staying stuck there is when you're receiving a paycheck. You're not quite happy in your job, but it's too comfortable with your paycheck and your benefits and everything is okay. And it just keeps you stuck in your comfort zone. And the thing is that your dream or your goal or your life plan, that's outside of the circle of your comfort zone. And if you're staying in your comfort zone, you're never going to reach it. So you have to break out if you want to achieve that goal or that dream or that plan that you haven't already achieved. Because if it was in your comfort zone, you would have already achieved it, and you haven't.
It keeps you from living. It could be the stale marriage that you're in. It could be living in an apartment when you want to live in a house. It could be living in Walla Walla, Washington when you want to move down south to Mississippi. There are a lot of things that keep us in our comfort zone, and that's what we're talking about today. First on the list, Laurel, real important, you hit on it. You can't be the person that you are now if you want to break out of your comfort zone. You've got to be somebody different, and the way you do that is what I call work yourself up. You start at the bottom of the ladder and you work yourself up. It's not unlike going to first grade, second grade, third grade. You go through the process, and before you know it, you've graduated.
This is really important because I think a lot of people just try to go from in their comfort zone to doing something crazy, just quitting their job all of a sudden or something like that. And that's not quite the best way to break out of your comfort zone. What you want to do, it's more than breaking out of your comfort zone, I think, David, as it is expanding your comfort zone. And when you work yourself up, you're able to expand your comfort zone more than just break free of it. Because no one is probably ever without a comfort zone, but you do want yours to be a lot bigger in the next couple years and continue to grow than it ever has been before.
Right. You just work on expanding it just a little bit every day, and before you know it, you are there. The success emerges. It takes care of itself.
Yeah, you want it to expand enough. If you kind of envision your comfort zone as a circle and your dream or your goal is a dot outside that circle, you want to work yourself up and expand your comfort zone enough over time that it eventually encompasses that dream or that goal. And also what you're going to notice is it encompasses a lot more outside of your comfort zone that could be other dreams or goals that you have as well. But you got to take those baby steps and you got to work yourself up. Start where you are and start building.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to add on the list is start something. Start where you are. It doesn't matter what you do. Just start something. It's a lot like a to-do list. I've got a big list every day that I start with. And a lot of people, they worry. They say, what am I going to start with? Where am I going to start? In the end, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get to it all eventually. And there are definitely some priorities, and we can worry about that. But as far as this discussion goes, start something. It could be wrong, but you'll figure that out soon enough. And that's a much better solution than not starting anything, which is what most people do.
Something that David Schwartz wrote in his book, The Magic of Thinking Big, was he said, action cures fear. And when you start something, anything, like you said, David, just start doing something and you take that action, it cures your fear. Because the thing is, outside of that circle of your comfort zone, there's a lot of fear. And when you take that action and you take that little baby step outside of your comfort zone, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be scared of out there because you took that action to do it. So action cures fear. Keep that in mind when you're trying to get out of your comfort zone or expand it, as we talked about.
Here's another thing about action that we need to add to the list is take action daily. So many people that I see when they're trying to start a business, they treat it like it's a hobby. They do it whenever it's convenient. They do it not daily, but maybe every couple weeks, every third week. It doesn't work like that. If you want to make something happen, you have to be consistent, and you need to be consistent about doing it, not doing it.
And when you're trying to get outside your comfort zone and do things daily that are outside of your comfort zone, you don't necessarily have to do things related to your business outside your comfort zone. You could do something small, like small actions. You could take a different route to work. You could start an exercise routine. You could try a different kind of food. A lot of times when you do something like that, say, for instance, you started an exercise routine and you lost 20 pounds that you've been trying to lose for years. And it gives you that feeling, and David, I'm sure you've had this before, is that if I can do this, I can do anything. And so losing that 20 pounds might have expanded your comfort zone enough that now that thing you were afraid to do in your business or that was outside of your comfort zone in your business, you just knock it out because it's not outside your comfort zone anymore.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also the skill sets that you would develop. For example, a lot of people are really afraid of public speaking. So that's kind of like a 2-for-1 thing. If you were to go for that, you're going to get over fears by finding out if you can do that, you can do anything. But you'll also develop a skill that you can use to get you from point A to point B, to expand your capacity to grow your business and to, as we said in the very beginning of this, work yourself up.
Absolutely. And I think doing it daily is just getting in that habit of getting uncomfortable, doing something uncomfortable every day. And it'll just get you in the habit so that you're working yourself up. You're expanding your comfort zone and you're taking those small actions one step at a time. You don't have to take a huge leap outside your comfort zone, but you do have to maybe wake up every day. What can I do today that scares me? What can I do today that's slightly uncomfortable? What can I do today that's different than yesterday? And that'll keep you on that path towards getting out of your comfort zone.
And you also have to be willing to fail. It's not going to be perfect. Sometimes you take a step maybe that's a little too big for where you are right now, and you have to look at that, I feel, as a learning experience. We've talked about Thomas Edison on the show here before, in that he didn't feel that he had failed 10,000 times when trying to develop the light bulb. He said, I just know 10,000 ways that didn't work.
But when you're in the middle of it, it can feel like a failure, David. And I think that's why you're saying be willing to fail. Whether it actually is a failure or you're just finding ways that don't work, it's probably the latter. But you do have to be willing to take a risk and be willing to mess up and know that because it's outside your comfort zone, that's just what comes with stepping outside your comfort zone. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be perfect. You're going to fall on your face sometimes. But if you don't risk that, you risk staying in a life of mediocrity for the rest of your life. And which one is worse? I say staying in that comfort zone and having a mediocre existence is worse than falling flat on your face every now and again.
Well, all of these things we're talking about, they fit together like a puzzle. And that's one of the reasons that we suggest to do something daily, because it puts you in part of the process. If you don't do something daily, let's say it's bi-weekly or every third month or whatever the longer period of time in between attempts is, it seems like it's a finite thing. You have to get it done right then because you're never going to have another shot. When you do something daily, well, you're going to have another shot tomorrow. So in the grand scheme of things, one failure, one day of a problem, it doesn't really matter because you'll have another opportunity the next day.
And do you have any examples, David, of things that you might do daily or even weekly that get you out of your comfort zone, get you experiencing something new and expanding that comfort zone?
On the last episode, episode number 40, which is at redpodcast.com/40 if you want to listen to that, one of the things that came up was the subject of rejection therapy. And rejection therapy is basically a game where you try to get rejected. So what these guys would do is they would do a challenge. It's 30 days of rejection, 30 days, 30 rejections. And I think about that. I think about it usually with a sales call. The more sales calls that you do, the more prospecting that you do, you're going to get rejected. So in that case, yeah, it's outside of my comfort zone. I don't like being turned down. But that's the thing about this. When you start doing it more and more and more, by the end of the 30 days, you'll see that it doesn't sting. So I can't really say that right now I'm doing something that's extremely scary to me. Maybe it's time for me to amp it up a little bit.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, and when you said sales calls, because it just brought to mind for me writing my book that I've been doing every day or 5 days a week since November. I'm not doing something different every day to get outside my comfort zone, but getting up every morning, sitting down and writing the book has been outside my comfort zone. And when you're